Yo, what's cracking everyone? Ericship 111 here. So, as some of you guys may know, recently I got my hands on an exclusive preview of the upcoming new Forza Motorsport, where I got to play what was essentially the full introduction of the game. We got to experience the two initial drives, as well as an entire Builders Cup series with the option of choosing three vehicles: the 2018 Honda Civic Type R, the 2019 Subaru STI S209, and the 2018 Ford Mustang GT. And if you want to check out my initial honest impressions, I'll put a link to that video down in the description below. Now, today's video is about directly comparing the differences between the upcoming new Forza Motorsport to its predecessor, Forza Motorsport 7. I'll be choosing the only car right now that is featured in both games, which is the Civic Type R, along with driving on the same track, the Mugello Club Circuit, to see where the new Forza Motorsport stands in comparison to Forza Motorsport 7. So let's begin with graphics. This is of course one of the biggest things that everyone likes to talk about, and it's sometimes really difficult to see just how much of an improvement Turn 10 has made, at least with the lighting and track details, without actually comparing it directly to its most recent title, Forza Motorsport 7, which at the time, back in 2017, was an incredibly good looking game. But actually seeing the side-by-side comparisons, at least on the same track with the same car, the visual upgrades is definitely obvious. Now, recently I was fortunate enough to have a private meeting with creative director for Turn 10, Chris Sasaki, and the reason why this upcoming new Forza Motorsport will launch with many of our favorite tracks missing is because with the new physics engine in this new Forza Motorsport, the cars just simply couldn't drive or react the way it should on the tracks they built back in Motorsport 7. Therefore, most of the tracks had to be scrapped and rebuilt again, hence why tracks like the Nürburgring and Nordschleife will be releasing post-launch. Now, I don't however specifically know if Mugello was completely rebuilt, as Chris Sasaki did say most and not all of the tracks, but either way, with this, it looks like an overall improvement. Now, with the Civic Type R itself, well, first off, we know that the steering wheel animation is now at 180 degrees instead of 90 when you turn, which is a good improvement. Still would have wished to see full steering animation, but at least it doesn't look unrealistically stiff like it did before. But the car itself, first thing I notice is the exhaust at the rear. It looks far better in the new Motorsport. The car also doesn't look flat. In Motorsport 7, the Civic almost looks dull, whereas the new Motorsport, it looks more three-dimensional and it pops. I don't believe this is just the case of the track being set at a different time and weather conditions causing the car look vastly different. Even if it was set the same, I believe the new Motorsport will look far superior. But one thing I will mention is this Civic Type R was of course modeled during the laser scan era of Forza, so these cars look good already. And as we have seen through some trailers, certain cars are still from the Xbox 360 era, which was of course not available in this preview. I would have loved to have seen those cars and give you my honest opinions, but unfortunately I'm gonna have to wait until the game launches. But overall, in terms of an almost direct comparison here, the new Motorsport has certainly improved. Next up, we have car sounds. Okay, so I'm just going to play a couple of sound clips of both cars inside and outside. There's honestly no comparison here. The new Forza Motorsport truly sounds better in almost every way imaginable. The car sounds in the new Motorsport are far more rich and in-depth than Motorsport 7. I know for some Honda Civics in real life it actually sounds a little more like the one in Motorsport 7, but not the FK8 Type R. Also, in cockpit view, you can actually hear a real difference in the engine note. It sounds much more deadened inside, as it should, and coupled with the new tire screech recordings and the car sound echoes from the environment, again, this is another part where the new Forza Motorsport has improved. The only thing that I would like to say is that the turbo flutter is a little bit too much, and most certainly should be toned down. We now move on to car upgrades. If you guys have watched my last video, you guys will know that I don't really like how the car upgrading and leveling system works for Motorsport. Not that it's a bad idea, but just simply locking certain parts to such a high level when you are already using a different currency other than in-game credits to purchase these upgrades just simply don't work, as we are still putting in the time to gain the car XP to level up our car to gain car points in exchange for car upgrades. But then again, I'm going to save that discussion for another video. So are there any additional visual upgrades that have been improved, at least for the Civic Type R from Forza Motorsport 7? Yes, we actually do, and here they are, guys. We now have an extra tow hook for the rear bumper and latches for the bonnet. Now, the design for the Forza front bumper with the tow hook looks slightly different to Forza Motorsport 7, and I also believe that these are now the new standardized Forza customizations across most of the vehicles in the game. Honestly, I would have loved to have seen maybe a few more specific customization options, especially if Turn 10 is pushing the idea of having this relationship with your car and car building. I would imagine including more car building options visually would also be a big focus too. The rear wing, if you're wondering, yes, the Forza rear wing is still there. Also, another thing I want to mention is, I don't know if this is because I'm upgrading my car while I'm in a Builders Cup series to kind of streamline the entire upgrading process, but this particular setting for upgrading your car is actually quite hard to see. It's rather dark. You also can't move your camera around either. I'm hoping that in the main menu you can actually customize your car here, but sadly most of the options here were locked, but you can indeed go into Forza Vista mode for at least the Cadillac that's being showcased. So I'm assuming it'll be like Forza Motorsport 7 once the actual game launches, where your own car will be showcased and you'll be able to upgrade and also make liveries there, as the space just looks far better. Performance upgrade options have all pretty much stayed the same, with the addition of the ballast. This upgrade is pretty much used to increase the weight of the car to alter its performance and handling characteristics. When it comes to tuning, there is an extra option called suspension geometry. I gotta admit, I did not try this at all, and I don't know how much of a significance it will play in terms of adjusting your car's performance. I'm sure it does, but one thing I can tell you is, yes, you can import your tunes from Forza Motorsport 7, but Chris Sasaki said himself that even if you have a really good tune in Motorsport 7 and import it into the new Forza Motorsport, because the physics are so vastly different, it may not perform anything like it did in the older game. So that's one thing to note. In terms of the rims, I believe the options have increased from Motorsport 7, but not to the extent that we currently have in Forza Horizon 5. The final thing I want to mention is the new track limits. So in the new Forza Motorsport, all of the tracks that were specifically featured back in Forza Motorsport 7 has had all of the limits reworked. And here with the Mugello circuit, you can see that they are far more realistic to racing. You can actually ride through some of the curves without actually having the possibility of getting a dirty lap. Whereas in Motorsport 7, on the exact same circuit, the track limits were pretty much strictly just on tarmac. This overall is a nice improvement, as it will allow players to use every part of the circuit that are much more in line with how they are actually driven in real life. So there we have it, guys, a quick comparison between the new Forza Motorsport and its predecessor, between the same track and the same vehicle. But what do you guys think? Are you guys excited for this game? Share your thoughts down in the comment section below, as I do read all of your comments, guys. But anyways, if you guys did enjoy today's video, please make sure to smash the thumbs up button, as it really does help me out. And of course, if you guys would like to stay up to date with everything Forza Motorsport related, be sure to subscribe, and I hope to see you guys in the next video. Peace.